How you doing, family? We're gonna pick it right back up where we left off, and we're gonna focus on to know truth is to live truth. To know truth is to live truth. To know truth is to live truth. Okay, on this video, we're gonna go deep into the rabbit hole, back to the beginning. In my book, I wrote in the preface of my book, about the beginning of all existence. That's how deep we're going to go, because I want you to get your information and be centered in raw truth. We're not cutting no corners, okay? And in the process, I hope you will understand and see the validation of what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to read a couple of sentences of my preference. Billions of years ago, before the universe was created, there was a single macrocosmic spiritual consciousness or awareness that is commonly called God. It is commonly believed that God created the universe with one single macrocosmic thought, or macrocosmic thought to shorten it. This macrocosmic thought is what most scientists, scholars, and spiritual thinkers call the Big Bang. God is a macrocosmic spiritual being that is pure consciousness and awareness. This consciousness, this conscious awareness is everywhere, all the time, and at the same time. Therefore, time as we know it does not exist for God or any other version of God, which is the being part of each human being. I'm going to repeat that. This conscious awareness is everywhere, all the time, at the same time. And the word that is used to express that meaning in the Christian Bible, they use the term omnipresent. Okay, that's what they're talking about. It relates to time and location. Perspective is another word for location or view. Perspective more speaks to a view. In other words, the position in place that you're looking from. That's what perspective speaks to. Okay? Again, this conscious awareness is everywhere, all the time, and at the same time. Therefore, time as we know it does not exist for God or any other version of God, which is the being part of each human being. Let me say that differently. It's a sentence so I can screw it up a little bit. Time as we know it does not exist for God or any other version of God, which is the human being part, which is the being, the being part of each human being pairing that we each are. Okay? I'm going to leave it at that. Now, what are we talking about? Let's get granular, basic, elementary level, kindergarten level. We're talking about, again, we're talking about a spiritual being. Therefore, we're talking about something that is not physical. And therefore, we said in the other video, whatever is not physical is metaphysical. Okay? Now, let's keep that in mind. Now, the reason why I brought up I want to bring that clear up that definition for you, and let's start out on with our focus on this omnipresent characteristic of God, to explain to you why you are a microcosmic expression of God. And that's why in that sentence I said, or any version of God has the same characteristic of God, which is everywhere, all the time, at the same time. And so therefore time doesn't exist for what you are in your essence. See, I want to empower you with that understanding of what you are. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm sorry. You should have got this in school long before I'm sitting here telling you. And that's the problem with now you got to learn about yourself so far late in the game that when I finally tell you the truth, all the lies, and in this case, the omission of the truth actually creates a backhanded lie because I never told you the truth of what you are. So therefore, you've been living under a deluded reality, in a deluded state, uneducated, miseducated, ignorant to what you actually are. It's a shame and it's criminal. It should be labeled criminal for people to be aware of this and purposefully block you from that understanding about yourself. To thine own self be true. But how can you be true to yourself and you don't even know who or what the hell you are? See, and that's what we're gonna clear up. In my book, I say we want to create a paradigm shift in the understanding of who and what you are. And it's more of who, yes, God is a who. But more importantly, God is a what. God is a spiritual, unlimited being. And you are a microcosmic expression of God, having a human experience. I know that I pulled the pin on a grenade, I dropped that in your ear, it exploded, and now you have more questions than you feel I just gave you answers. But actually, if you are confused, it's because you may be trying to now, what's the word? Not qualified, but you want to try to rationalize all of the false and half-hearted and ridiculous concepts and confusion of the past. And I want to do something else here before I go any further, is I want to help you to have a way to calibrate when you're getting superstition and religion, which go hand in hand, because most of religion and most of superstition has no basis in scientific fact. They take advantage of coincidence and circumstance. and they try to make it into something real. And that's what I call a fairy tale, a myth, or an outright lie. And up until now, unfortunately, that's what you've been basically allowed to live by omission, because they're leaving out. Omission means to leave something out, to allow you to guess and try to stumble and bumble and figure out, because your senses are picking up all of these things and you're saying, wow, what's going on here? Something wrong. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but there's no explanation for what's happening here. So what does that leave you? It leaves you in a state of no control. And when you're in a state of no control and ignorance, oh baby, that means I can run any con job I want on you, because you don't even know what the hell you are, who the hell you are, or even worse, where you are. So what they've done with this quote unquote is, you haven't been educated. Dogs are trained. And it's a form of education. But if I'm not teaching you and giving you information that you can turn around and use to survive and thrive, and teach you a system where you at least know how to learn. See, now I'm educating you. Well, you can train a dog to sit on command, sit. Dog, you just train the dog on how to sit, but you haven't taught the dog nothing except how to sit. But you haven't educated the dog and given him some information, or heard some information that will allow it to navigate and move through the world and survive through intelligence and awareness and knowledge and wisdom. You just train the dog to sit. Well, that's what they did to you. If you 20, 21, 22, 23, up until now, all you've been doing is getting by. And I know you swear you was doing something, but you don't even know. You can't know what you didn't know. And that's what I'm here to teach you. Okay, so I want to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion. And the primary difference is, spirituality never uses fear, terror, and confusion to get you to believe. I want you to believe, but I want you to believe in the knowledge that I'm giving you, so that you can develop a clearer understanding of the power and authority that you are, that was given to you at birth, and that you wield all the time, 24/7, and you don't even know it. And the miswielding and the mishandling of this basic understanding of what you are and what you do all the time, whether you're aware of it or not, that is what causes a lot of the misfortune and things that happen to you in your life. Because you're not aware that what you believe and what you feel and what you repeat in your mind space, you are attracting. And if especially if you're allowing thoughts to come into your mind space repeatedly that are based on fear and terror of a hell somewhere, or a heaven that Jesus ain't gonna do right by you, God is angry at you, and all this nonsense. See, whether you know it or not, but the fact that you keep repeating it and you feel scared, well, that's what the subconscious machine, all it cares about is, what are you feeling and what are you repeating? Whatever you're repeating and whatever you're feeling, that's what it's going to give you. So if you're functioning out of fear, terror, confusion, and scared, well, it's going to give you some more fear, terror, confusion, and scared. But you didn't know. See, and what I want you to do is, I want you to stop that. I want you to don't and I want another thing I want to do that I don't want you to confuse what you actually are and what a thought is. What the not your mind space. Well, it is your mind space in the sense that you have complete and total control over it. But for right now, it appears that you have no control over the thoughts and everything that decides or goes through your mind space, because if you're 23 years, for 23 years, you have been allowing the flesh vehicle, which has a built-in artificial or automatic intelligence built into it. You didn't know that either. And that automatic intelligence, once it takes hold, once you allow it to run every doggone thing, now here you are 23 years later, and I go by sevens. 1 to 7, 7 to 14, and 14 to 21. Every 7 years, your physical being matures intellectually and allows you to be able to understand things better. I'm gonna repeat that. Every 7 years, in case nobody ever told you that, every 7 years, your flesh vehicle and the brain that is housed within it has an evolutionary maturity process. It's called maturity. Duh. Okay. But what you didn't know is that every 7 years you cross another stage in your maturity process. And that's why at 21 you're considered to be an adult. But in actuality, no, you're not. By 21, you're a mature adolescent, and by 27, you typically are finished with the physical growth process of the flesh vehicle. Now, your spirit, microcosmic spirit that is functioning through this finite flesh vehicle, is able to get more sensation, the senses, the eyes, the hearing, the smells, and the brain. But most importantly, the intelligence of the brain is completely matured by 27, 28. If you go by sevens, 28 years old is actually the crossover point into full maturity physically. And that's just physically. Okay? If you have not been exercising and building the muscles to control the mind space and the thoughts, by the time you get to be 28, there will be an awakening in the sense that you are physically, you have the physical structure in place to be able to comprehend your existence and manipulate your world and your mind to a better extent. You have more control over your thought flow by the time you're 28. That's why some people, when you're younger, they can't read. I could not read until I got to be 21. I didn't have, my mind wasn't quiet enough. My body wasn't quiet enough, wasn't under control enough. I was able to go to school and do better than most, but it was tough. Thoughts were flying a million miles an hour. Okay, and it was tough, but I got it together because I hit 21. And at 21, and I was curious at 15. But look at 15. Once I hit, after 14, by 15, the maturity of the physical brain started to happen, kick in. And I was able to read a couple of sentences and some paragraphs. Every now and again, I read a paragraph. But what drove me was I was so curious. I was eternally curious on how things work. I was fascinated by how things work. And I felt blessed to be born into a world and a society that at the time was supposed to be great. Even though everywhere I was looking in the history and the way they were treating my physical form as a African American, the way we were being treated, it was a radical contradiction. And what I was seeing in the news and in the history books and white folks, European history books in schools and stuff, talking about great. And every sense in my body and in my mind is saying, well, how could they be great? And they're murdering and killing Native Americans and slaughtering people and blowing up and nuking countries and all this stuff. I knew something was wrong. Couldn't put my finger on it. But by 15, I already knew something major was wrong, and there was a lie being perpetuated, and I couldn't put my finger on that either. By the time I got 22, and I bumped into the spiritual culture group and stumbled on to some African history up on in Convent Avenue and 145th Street in Harlem with Professor Lynn Jeffries and Professor Dr. Lynn Jeffries and Professor Smalls, Dr. Scobie, Shashi McIntyre, the whole crew that was up there on Convent Avenue. I mean, my eyes were open and I said, now this makes sense. Now this makes sense. And so that's what I want to share with you. I want to take you back to the beginning. And I want you to understand this structure that you are a microcosmic being, which is a microcosmic expression of God having a human experience. And the interface of the microcosmic being and this flesh vehicle form that your spirit is riding in, driving, there's some things that are happening. There's some dynamics, some interactive dynamics that are happening there that you need to comprehend, you need to understand. And that's what I want to talk about in this particular workshop. Okay? This one, we're going to go long on this one. I'm preparing you right now. We're going to go long. This will probably be about an hour and a half because this is deep stuff and I'm going to get granular. I'm not cutting no corners for you. I want to give it to you because I want it to be pure. And one thing I want you to do, you don't have to understand it because that's deep. But I want you to at least be aware of the parts and the components of the anatomy of this existence that you were born into. And the most important component of the anatomy of existence is the beginning. So you understand the source of your power. And what I want you to do is spend the rest of your life validating what I'm telling you. I don't want you to just believe me. No. I want you to do your homework. Don't do lazy. This is not for the faint of heart. And if you were faint of heart, you wouldn't be listening to this. So I already know you've passed the first stage. You are worthy because you're still listening to this. Okay? This is deep stuff. And you're going to be empowered by it. What you need to understand about this interface between the spirit that is riding in this vehicle, okay? The vehicle that I'm riding in, I'm in my 60s. I don't know what age you're in. But the vehicle itself, like I said, has stages of maturity that usually goes in blocks of 7. Very few people will talk to you about this, but it is just a fact of, and you can kind of intuitively surmise this by looking at, you can cross-check it with cross-analysis with people that don't know each other. Do your homework. There's some books here called, do I have that book here? Okay, yeah, it's a book here called The Male, and you may not be able to get this anymore because I have books that you can't get nowhere else. This book here is called The Male Body. Well, I have it for male because I'm a man, okay? But most of the stuff that applies here applies to females with the exception of the whole womb area and all that, and the different chemical makeups that are between males and females. But in here, they're gonna talk to you about 3 different body types of human forms, okay? But in here, they're gonna talk to you about maturity as well. Okay. Um, so this interface between the spirit and the physical body, the the spirit is infinite. It is has no end to its ability to do because it basically is perfect. Okay, the flesh vehicle is imperfect and finite. Finite means it has a defined beginning and end. The spirit is infinite. It has no defined end. And you really has no clearly defined beginning because all we can do is surmise and make educated guesses about the beginning based on backwards, in other words, backwards engineering. That's basically what we're doing. With the level of intelligence that we have right now, we are able to make what we call educated guesses based on scientific facts in a backwards engineering direction. And so, because we see evidence of things going backwards, then we can surmise where how we got to be where we are today and where we came from. And that you're going to find that strategic strategy of gaining knowledge and wisdom in every aspect of history and scientific pursuits or educational understanding of the science of where we are on a bunch of different levels: archaeology, astrology, astronomy, physics, metaphysics, okay, quantum physics. It's all these different levels, okay, but it's fascinating. I want you to be as fascinated as I am about the order and the structure that God has set up. It's just too much order and structure for there not to be a God. It is too organized. That's my personal belief based on what I see. It's just too much structure and order. And this cannot happen haphazardly. There has to be a driving force. And I call that driving force evolution. And the entity that put that driving force into motion, I call God. Okay? Um, I want to refer to Professor Kaba for a minute because I mentioned to you about the infiniteness of the metaphysical or spiritual part of our existence and the finite part of the form, world of form and physical and existence, or the stage or the plane of existence that I call existence, some call life. Okay? In Professor Kaba's book here, as we mentioned in the previous movie, and I want to clarify, this is by way of clarification. Professor Kaba mentioned here, he's talking about science and spirituality. In my book, I talk about metaphysical and physical. Okay? Science in Professor Kaba's book is speaks to the physical form. Spirituality in Professor Kaba's book speaks to the metaphysical form. In Professor Kaba's book, spirituality is infinite. Here, science in Professor Kaba's interpretation, which I agree with 100%, speaks to the physical plane. He calls it from the skin out into the existing world. Spirituality in Professor Kaba's book talks about from the skin inward, and I gave you a clarification. I take it a step further. I say everything that is not physical. Thoughts, the mind space, what you are, a microcosmic spiritual being that is intangible, but just an awareness about an awareness with intelligence that is so intelligent that it has evolved to the point where it is aware that it is not thought, that it is not the body, it is not the mind space. And we're going to talk about that with Eckhart Tolle today because he's going to validate that. Okay, and that's in my book. A lot of what I'm doing right now is validating my book for you because once you read my book, you are getting a Cliff Note version of this bad boy right here. And Eckhart Tolle, he got his book right here, Eckhart Tolle's book. These books are, you need to read them, but because I want you to get to this book right here, which is going to be Law of Attraction, Neville Goddard and Rhonda Burns, The Secret. All of this, like I said in the other video, is about getting you to this because I want you to start visualizing and feeling and feel yourself having now what it is you want in the future. In order for you to get to the future, you got to see it now so you can attract it into your now. That's what the law of attraction teaches you. And that's what all this is about. See, I want you to know the history so we can dispel the lie. And once your mind is freed up of the brainwashing and the crap and the lie and the fairy tales and the nonsense, now your power can get through this flesh vehicle because now you're not bogged down in lies and trying to figure out fairy tales and nonsense that ain't gonna get you nothing. The only thing gonna get you something is law of attraction. And I'm about getting you to get something. And we ain't gonna get bogged down in this paralysis or this analysis. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna go creeping slow because I'm gonna get this to you once, right, in the first 2 lecture series. And by the time we get to lecture series 3, I want to be knee deep in practicing, visualizing, and seeing what it is you want, clean down to color. I want you to reach your hand out in your imagination and feel the steering wheel of the car. In my case, it's a car. I don't know what you want. Could be a boat, could be whatever it is. But I want you to be able to granularly, micro detail, feelings, smells, if you can conjure them up, color, bright, crisp, sharp. That's what I want you to be able to do because the better you can do that, the faster you're going to attract these things into the now. Because the only thing that matters is now on this physical plane right here. Tomorrow didn't get here yet. Yesterday is gone. Every time you open your mouth, you open the mouth of this vehicle and you speak, every time you create a thought right now, it's always now. Tomorrow didn't get here yet, don't matter. Only reason that you even use tomorrow is so you can do your imagination. And even when you do your imagining must be as if it is now. The past is good to know, but it's all about now, where you are now. Don't have anxiety and depression about things that happened in the past. Whenever you do that, 9 out of 10 is because something that happened yesterday, a few minutes ago, and what you may think is going to happen tomorrow. Those things always create anxiety and stress. Not always, because if it's something good, maybe a very positive thing. Like for me, it's very good, very positive. Me thinking of hitting the lottery, getting into my Tesla, owning a fleet of Teslas, washing them, having a whole service center in the house with my nephew, my son, running it, managing my stocks and my portfolio and get passive income coming in from multiple different sources. See, now my future that I see now is enjoyable. That's where I want to get you. That's where I want you to be. But in order for you to be able to do what I do, I think it's only fair. I don't want to assume you're going to just pick it up. No, I want to make sure that I've cleared all of the obstacles out of your way and got you rooted and anchored in solid manganese steel of facts, science, and historical detail that will, anytime anybody approach you with doubt, because you're going to have a lot of doubting Thomas, because misery loves company. And that is a very true statement about this human flesh vehicle, the AI, brute, dumb, ignorant, and a lot of crab in the barrel, ignorant, bring you down. Because when others realize that they've been dropping the ball and they see it in you, instead of them trying to catch up to you, what they're going to try to do is bring you down to them and distract you with criticism. And would do what I do. Look at them and I laugh, depending on how they come at me. If they come dumb and stupid brute, I look at them and assess how dangerous are they going to be when I slice them up into pieces and expose their ignorance. That's what I do at first. And if I see that they look like they might be open to some enlightenment, then I'll be very gentle about it and even jocular and joke and bring them in and expose their inferiority complex, because usually that's what it is that drives ignorance and dumb brutes. They just don't know. Now, when I say dumb brute, I don't mean it in an insulting way. I mean it in a instructive, as a teacher and somebody who's experienced, and we're writing in this human form. And you're not going to always be perfect. So you have to develop your own teaching style as it relates to dealing with the brutes in your environment. And 99% of the brutes in my environment are in my immediate family. And it'll probably be the same for you. Because people in the family start feeling like, oh, crap, he got it together. And I didn't do my part. So there's a guilt complex that's automatic. Everybody takes on. Again, what you're dealing with is the reactive mind that is controlled by the brute flesh form. And that's something you will learn in Dianetics. Dianetics teaches you about the reactive mind of the flesh vehicle, the form, the person, as I call it, the persona. We call it our person. Instead of calling it a car, we call it our person, okay? So in the book here, Professor Kaba, he draws this clear distinction, and I love it. And that's why I want to keep bringing it to you and nail it down. And let's go through and deal and look at it critically. And let's deal with the every word of it. But I'm doing it so I want to validate for you what I'm talking about in my book, The Anatomy of Existence. And in my book, I talk about the infinite and the finite. Now, in Professor Kaba's book here, he says there is no way to separate the two concepts. And here, he's talking about left side, right side brain. That's another thing I have to explain to you. The right side of the brain is considered to be the spiritual side. So it deals with the metaphysical realm, or as in Professor Kaba's book, it deals from the skin in. Okay, the left side of the brain deals with the science, which deals with from the skin out, or the finite realm. The metaphysical realm is an infinite realm. From the skin out, which is the scientific realm, is the finite realm. But the scientific realm is a done deal. It's already completed. So we use the scientific realm as a way to explain how things were manufactured and how they work. That's what the scientific realm or the physical realm is about. And science is the study of the physical realm and how it came to be or how it evolved into where the level that it is right now and how it works. Okay? So in this book, Professor Kaba goes back and he talks about like the two hemispheres of the brain. African philosophy blends and combines spirituality with science. Okay, what is he talking about there? He's talking about balancing the left side and the right side of the brain. Again, here we go. You got to have a balance between the spiritual and the physical worlds. What are we talking about? The flesh form has an automatic intelligence built into it. The spirit, that microcosmic spirit that is riding in the flesh form, has a metaphysical intelligence that is unlimited and perfect. So there you have your first coming together where balance must be maintained. And I want to branch off and talk to you about the flesh vehicle. Now, because I say things about the dumb bruteness of the flesh vehicle, I don't want you to misunderstand or misinterpret what I'm saying here. I don't mean for you to disrespect or treat your flesh vehicle as if it's some dumb, useless, you don't have to respect it at all. That would be the biggest mistake you could ever make. Because I want to be practical and I want to be realistic. And the other thing I want you to do is I want you to learn how to read your flesh vehicle. Your flesh vehicle is different from mine. See, I know my flesh vehicle because I've been working with it for 60 something years. Okay. If you're younger than that, you're in your 20s, you got to work with your flesh vehicle. You got to work with what you got. You know, every flesh vehicle is going to be a little bit different. Some may be average and they'll have basically the same stuff, basically the same kind of corrupted automatic intelligence system built into it. Your spiritual, metaphysical spirit intelligence will be different and on different levels, but for the most part, since you're dealing with perfection and an infinite being, that part is basically the same for every single human being combination. The microcosmic being is all coming from the same source. Now, here's where I believe there's I have developed my own concept because I'm seeing some things that don't make sense. The microcosmic being that I am, I believe this, that with repeated thousands, billions, millions of reincarnation, in other words, the word carnal and carnation, the words, some people say you are carnal. Carnal speaks to the flesh. And when they say you have a carnal mindset, that means you're ran by the automatic intelligence that is built into this flesh. And that usually implies you're not too bright. So people will say, man, you're real carnal, or martial. You see, martial arts speaks to physical and the manipulation and the expression of the microcosmic spirit through the physical form. And the better that this microcosmic spirit can express itself through the physical form is what martial arts is all about. Training this training the physical body to be able to do what the microcosmic being can do, which is heavy duty, extraordinary stuff, because it is connected directly to God, which is unlimited power and unlimited ability. We called it infinite potential. That means it has no boundaries of what it can do, but what gives it boundary is the finite form. And you can only push the finite form so far because it's finite. So an infinite being is trying to express itself through a finite form. Okay? You can decide to spend your entire life manifesting the best that this finite form can express, or can express this microcosmic being on this plane. Okay? And you'll have extraordinary people who are very good at it. But I believe, that brings me back to my point, is I believe the ones that you're seeing that seem exceptional is because their micro spirit has reincarnated, which means reincarnate means come into flesh form so many times that the microcosmic spiritual intelligence has grown. And so you will have some people will appear to have extraordinary abilities. And I believe it's a balance between the abilities of the physical being that they were born in, pushed by the level of intelligence that has evolved over many lifetimes of this microcosmic spirit in here coming out. And evidently I must have got at least about 1,000,000 reincarnations under my belt, because I find that a lot of times I'm trying to explain things to people and they look at me like I'm from another planet, and right away I learned to back down and just realize, easy, you're forcing too much on folks that are not there yet. And see, if you're one of these folks, you got to understand that. You got to understand that. You can't push it but so far. Moderation in all things, okay? You got to find out where your boundaries are. See, the boundaries I have for me is different from the boundaries I have to do when I'm dealing with other folks who may not be spiritually as evolved as I am. Don't make me better than. It makes me better at being able to look and evaluate and assess where things are going based on my skill level. I'm just better at that. But I'm not better than nobody else. So what I try to do is give that knowledge to other people. And some of them are insulted by it. So I have to pull back. And that's why I decided to do these YouTube videos. So that the ones that are ready and are spiritually at my level or coming to my level and see the value of what I'm trying to express and teach and share, they can get it. It's not fair for me to hold back and stop them from getting what they need to get just because some people who are not ready, want me to shut up and sit down. I can't do that. I'll be going against the will of God as far as I'm concerned. I'm compelled. I get up in this bed every night, and in the morning I wake up with stuff saying, get up and do this, talk about this, write down. I have to write stuff down, make notes, talk about this, explain that to people. That'll help move them to the next level. And that's what I'm doing right now today. Okay? You got to understand the interplay and the dynamic, which is the give and take. Dynamic means the give and take, the ebb and flow, the back and the forth, the give and the action and the reaction. See, for every action, there is a reaction. If I tell you something and it makes you say, aha, aha is the reaction. Now you've just been edged and inspired about something that you were wondering about, and I gave you a piece of the answer. Now you go to somebody else and you get another piece of the answer. And so you will, in your own research, you will begin to evolve and develop a level of understanding that you can now use as solid ground and say, okay, I know what this means. When this happens, this is what's going to happen. Every action, okay, there's going to be this reaction. So you know it in advance, so you know exactly how much force, however, whatever it is you want to use in order to get whatever reaction you want. So let's apply that now to the law of attraction. You know you want a Tesla. How do you get that? What can you use that you now have the intelligence, you have the research, and you have the information and the knowledge and the wisdom? Because you know every aspect on how to use what you have learned to get what you want. So you know you got to meditate. You know you got to see thoughts going through your mind, and you got to say, okay, I don't want that thought. Okay, well, never mind that. I want to think this. And the other thoughts going to keep creating. Hey, never mind that. I tell you keep going. But I'm focusing over here. Tesla, blue, wheels moving, touching the steering wheel, feeling the kids in the back talking. See, while you dealing with all of that and imagining all of that in the right now, the car is sitting outside right now. All I gotta do is go and take my phone. Since my phone is the key, I can just go right down and go on and get in there. And see, you feel that. That's law of attraction. Every aspect of that exercise is law of attraction. Where do you get that ability from? Who gave that to you? Why can you do how can you do that? Where did that come from? See? Set into motion. Born with it at birth. The ability to manifest whatever you want. All you got to do is just think it and believe. And the reason why I want you to throw that Bible out is stop wasting your beliefs on nonsense and crap and focus on success and prosperity and take complete and total control over every aspect of your life. And don't take no shorts from nobody. Especially this flesh vehicle right here. You got to put your foot square up your flesh vehicle's behind when you have to. Only when you have to. But now what I'm expressing to you, I'm going to ask your forgiveness right now. Because see, what I do to me, you may not have to do that to your vehicle. But see, my vehicle, I was born into some hard-headed, these folks here are so out of control and undisciplined. It is scary. It's terrifying to me sometimes. Some of these folks are so woefully, willfully ignorant. And it's out of pure laziness. Don't want to know. Too much work. Don't want to know. But then they always want success. And they complain, I don't know why I can't. I don't know. It's just bad things just keep happening to me. Because you don't want to know. And when you don't want to know, when you got slipshod and haphazard control over your life, you're going to get slipshod and haphazard success. You get what you give. For every action, there's a reaction. You do nothing, you get nothing. Don't it sound fair? Sounds fair to me. Okay? So you got to get to work. We got to get this we got to get this law of attraction into motion. We can't afford to be driving around. Because right now in 2020, March of 2020, there's this is a rare opportunity that's getting ready to happen. This is the age of Aquarian. And there's about to be a paradigm shift socially and economically. And for those who are ready, they're going to take advantage of it, and they're going to move themselves to a whole nother economic level. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not obsessed about money. Quite honest with you, be honest with you, don't care about no money. But I understand and I respect the importance of money on this physical plane here. And you know why I respect it? Because I have the knowledge and the intelligence that makes it crystal clear to me that money buys freedom on a physical plane, not on a metaphysical plane. It buys you freedom on this physical plane right here and can even overcome race. Okay? So that's why you need to get your financial base together. And the way you're going to get your financial base together is by using the law of attraction and clearing your mind of anxiety, confusion, and time-wasting, nebulous thinking on foolishness. And you cut that TV off. And you'll be amazed at how inside of a year, you will develop a sense of clarity and a sense of internal peace that will allow you to control your thoughts on a monumental scale more than you've done in the past. Okay? And that's what this is all about. So Professor Kaba talks there in his book about balancing the left side and the right side of the brain. And when you balance that out, you get what I call homeostasis. You take another step toward balanced internal spiritual balance and awareness, and whatever happens within manifests without. Everything you see on this physical plane came from thought that morphed into beliefs and repeated, whether you did it on consciously or not, don't matter. The subconscious machine, which is God, heard it and got to work. Didn't ask permission. It just did it. Because that's what it's doing. You ain't got to ask no permission. It's on autopilot. You don't need to ask. All it's doing is listening. And all it ever says is yes. You start saying, okay, I want, it'll say, okay, yes, I'll give you a whole bunch of wanting. If you say I have, it'll say, okay, yes, you do. I'm working on it. If it's the bigger it is, might take a little bit longer. But you keep saying you have it, okay, then I'll work a little faster. And if you start saying, feels good to have this, oh, thank you, God, whew, God said, oh, let me get to work, dog. He ready to see that. Now, let's go. And I'm going to tell you what I do. I start looking around and say, hey, I thought this thing was already here. What happened? I said, okay, but I'm not going to take no action because I know it's going to come when you're ready. But You know, if I'm supposed to be the shot caller, I'm calling the shot. I expected to be here. And I will continue to have those high expectations. I will never lower them and only get higher. That's just the way I roll. Now, y'all can do what you want. That's another thing. See, I want you to develop your own strategy. You don't have to do what I do. Do what you want to do. But I'm going to give you the basics. Okay? So, now, see, because what works for me may not work for you. You got to do what works for you. You got to develop your own strategy. I don't want you to follow me. Only in the sense that basic training, I give you the basic skills. Visualize, put feelings and emotions with it, do it repeatedly every day. Those are the basics. Everybody got to do that. Everybody that wants something got to do that. Now, you could play with music, you know, chimes. I'm not doing no dressing up and all that stuff. You know, I used to do the incense and all that. I don't do none of that stuff no more either. Don't need it. I'm past all that. I'm into raw doing. Okay? And y'all can do what you want to do, you know? But I'm just telling you, this is what I do and what works for me. And now, taking into what I talked about, left side, right side, science and spirituality. As the sister said in her song, how you gonna win if you're not right within? I forget the sister's name. Can't think of it right now. Come to me. Lauryn Hill, you know, in her song, beautiful song. And African Americans and black folks have been doing this, sending messages, and she's trying to think, how can I? I see her as myself, you know. That's what I go through. How can I get this message across to my people who are so jacked up and lost and babble and nebulous, superficial nonsense, but at the same time being very artistic and expressing their Africanness in the way that they express themselves, whether the droopy pants or the flat top haircuts and all the crazy wearing the hat backwards. See, that's artistic expression. You give them a pair of pants and they're going to droop them below their butt and make it stylish and fashionable. You may not like it, but that's what black folks do. We are the first people, so we don't really, and that's the problem. See, we don't care. And but that's kind of in keeping with the spirit. See, and other people who are think they're in charge. They want to be able to. 1 minute they want to be libertarian. They want the government off their back. Next minute they want to tell you how to wear your pants. So it's this contradiction in mental illness that you have to completely and totally ignore. Okay, so now we talked about the two sides. What I want to get into now, yeah, we're gonna go over on this one. I knew that. Is I want to get into this piece with Eckhart Tolle. Uh, we did the science and the spiritual awareness. Okay, we got that together. But I want to go back and talk about this awareness, this microcosmic being that is expressing itself through this flesh vehicle here, this awareness. I want to get granular on this. I want to get basic. We go into kindergarten on spiritual awareness. We can't move forward. You can do your visualizations. You can do your feelings. You can do your repetition. Okay? But you got to understand what you are. Okay? Because the better you understand that, the more you can ignore the silly thoughts that have been created as a reaction by this flesh vehicle here. You are a microcosmic being having a human experience expressing itself through a flesh, temporary, finite form. What does that mean? That means what comes with this form? That which has no thoughts, it already thought one time. And that's all the thought it's going to do. It's going to do all the thinking it's going to do. The rest of the thinking is happening right here. That's been assigned to you. Got to understand that. This is the rules of the game. Okay? So, to validate that, what does the flesh form do 24/7, 7 days a week? Does nothing but think all the time. So the thinking has been assigned to this flesh vehicle here. So what do you have to do as a microcosmic being? You got to get in and take control and grab the steering wheel and control the thinking. That's your job. That's why you're here. You got to control the thinking. And I'm sorry that they never told you this. So now, if you 30 and you just realizing you're supposed to be trying to control the thinking, and when I say control the thinking, I don't mean you actually control the thinking. As you get more advanced, you will be able to control the thought flow process at certain points for certain periods of time. But actually, for the most part, what you're going to be doing is ignoring the thought process that the flesh vehicle incessantly does. But what happens is you just decide not to pay attention to it. As a microcosmic being, I'm not going to pay attention to it because I'm sending my visuals over here. I don't care what the hell's going on up in here. I'm the boss. Because when everything go wrong, I'm the one that's going to feel it. So I want to think about my big house. I want to think about the pets that I have in my big house. How the kitchen is going to look. How the floor is going to look. How the floor looks, not going to look. How it looks. How the kitchen looks. Well, how big are my pets? How are they now that they are kittens? What carpet do I have on the floor now? See, see, as I'm talking, you see how you have work to do. You got to stay on it. And after a while, it becomes habit. It becomes second nature. See? Law of attraction. I'm learning too. So I have to pull myself back and remember, follow the steps. Don't think gonna look. Look now. This is the way they look now. Do that at the same time while you're understanding this awareness. At the same time, you understand your history. At the same time, you understand the politics of your community. Everything got to be happening multitask at the same time. Why? Because you are an infinite being, capable of infinite abilities. See, that's the driving knowledge behind everything I do. I know that I can do stuff. And you know what? The only reason why, if it hasn't happened yet, is because I haven't been practicing enough. But I have enough evidence in the past, like my knowledge of stock trading right now. When I first began, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. An economic situation like we're going through right now with this coronavirus. I would be so depressed and so emotionally jacked up, you wouldn't believe. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars, but because I was inexperienced, but thank God I was experienced enough. I didn't just get wiped out like a lot of other people did. But that was 15, 12 years ago. Okay, my experience kept me in the game up until I finally ran out. And now it's a different game. It's a different ball game. Now I'm ready. So now it's just money. I'll get some more. Do it again. Now I'm smarter. See? And I'm going to take total advantage. And the opportunity I have now makes the opportunities I had back then. Those look like nanites compared to this. Tesla, Skyworks, a Bitcoin. Oh, this is a whole nother ball game. This is a whole nother ball game now. But see, I know all that stuff now. I'm not guessing. I'm not emotionally ripped to shreds like I was before. Okay? So I want to get back into this awareness piece. What Eckhart Tolle talks about in here is uh he says there was a person that came to him and asked him some questions. And I'm gonna play a piece of that for you now, okay? Now, what he's talking about there is what I want. I wanted you to hear somebody else talk about it because I want you to see I'm not making this stuff up. What he does not do, that to me seems like, he's 90% right. But the one thing he does not do here is make the distinction about the awareness that you are. He talks about it. He keeps saying you do this, you do that. No. See, in spiritual culture, 45 years ago, we said, my person does this. And that is a big difference. Just like I clarified myself with saying, I could see what I'm going to have with the color of the carpet, what the kitchen is going to look like. Wrong. What the kitchen looks like now. That's what the law of attraction teaches. See, I'm a technician. I'm a mechanic. I'm getting down. I ain't leaving no stones unturned. Scientist, mechanic, detail, detail, detail. You know why? Because that subconscious mind, God, he work on details. And he don't give a damn whether you right or wrong. All it knows is what you're saying. Because all it's saying is yes. It's like this, like, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah. You say it wrong, you get wrong. You say it right, you get right. Because I don't really care. I'm doing my function. I'm speaking as a subconscious machine now. It's doing its function. He ain't gonna figure out that what you meant. It don't do meant. It do or it don't do. All it does is do. You gotta understand that. You are in control. Now, it's not your fault that you didn't know this, but the subconscious machine don't care. You get it right and you get what you want. You get it wrong and you get nothing. Period. Don't care. Like your microcosmic spirit is forever. Ain't gonna die. Don't care. Time don't exist for it either, so it really don't care. See? You're having a human experience. So for now, because you're interfaced with this glove called the flesh form, you have the illusion of caring. You have the illusion of feeling. You have the illusion of stress because you're in a microcosmic form, expressing yourself through a physical form. So that microcosmic part of the Trinity is the macro, the micro, and the physical form, vehicle that interfaces with the physical existence. You cannot interface with this physical existence that we call life unless you're in one of these forms. As a spiritual being floating around in the air, you can't do nothing. Because this is a physical world. You got to have a physical being to function in the physical world. See? Anatomy. That's how this works. That's the structure of the existence that you are expressing yourself through. You don't have to believe me. Get the books and do your homework and validate it for yourself. See, I already know. You got to figure it out. While you figuring it out, I'm going to be doing law of attraction. See? And it's not personal, but I got to give it to you. Both barrels. No chaser. I got to give it to you. So you will understand the value of this. And we can play with it. We can play with this. And I can be jocular and I can hit you and say things because I want to motivate you. I want you to understand. There are forces here and entities here that are functioning on a level and they don't care what you feel. All they care about is, are you doing it right? Because see, all I do is make stuff. That's what the subconscious machine is. All I do is make stuff. I don't care about none of this all. I'm forever and nothing can touch me. You gotta understand that. All it does is sit there and wait for you to get it together. So it can do what it do. And it can wait forever. Don't care. And that's what you are. You will keep coming back 1,000,000 times until you get it together. Because that's how it's all set up. And the setup don't care. You gotta understand it. It's never personal. These people that you born into family and they vehicles die and you go through funerals and your emotions, you're supposed to be emotional because you're here to feel and happiness and joy and tears and happiness. You're here to feel stuff. Because once you go back into the macro being, you don't care and you don't feel nothing. And you know how you know you don't feel nothing? What happened in your last life, in your last incarnation? Do you have any inkling, a scintilla, a nanite of a memory of what you were? Yeah, you can barely remember what you were in your mother's womb. And if you can do that, your spiritual evolution is serious. I can't remember none of that. I'm not that evolved. Okay? But I have no memory of my last life at all. And do I have any control over that? As far as I know, hell no. See? And those are facts that you can validate for yourself. Right now, you know you don't have no memory of what the hell you were before you joined this physical plane here, coming through this flesh vehicle right here. No memory of that at all. And that's what I want to talk to you about with this interface, the awareness. How does this awareness work? How can you be stronger in your understanding of how it works and use that to your advantage? Eckhart Tolle just told you. The person that asked him that question said, I'm so afraid. I'm always afraid of what's going to happen to my family and my loved ones. Am I going to lose all of my wealth and all this stuff and machinations and fear and terror and anxiety? See, the person probably coming from out of some religion somewhere, and they're in the habit of being out of control and thinking the responsibility for what happens with their life. That's another thing that makes them terrified, because they don't feel like they have any control over it at all, because the church told them and the religion told them Jesus got it. God got it. God somewhere, God got it. You ain't got nothing. You at the I submit. I give up. I turn my life over to you, Jesus. And that bullshit. Excuse my friend. That's not how this works. See, you can say all that all you want, but the reality is all on you. So while you saying all that nonsense, and if you believe it, it's gonna be nice and easy and lazy. You ain't gotta do nothing because Jesus gonna do it all for you. So you ain't gotta do nothing. See? That's the con job that they trick you into. And what does that make you do? Continue to have no skills and no ability to control your damn life. Turn it all over to Jesus. As long as you give your 10% to the church and everything gonna be all right. Don't work that way, folks. Throw that Bible out and pick up your meditation barbells and start building your mental muscles. Take control of your life. Forget about all that foolish nonsense. It's your life. It's your existence. Right now, all you have is now. Tomorrow, never mind that. Even things you want tomorrow, see them now. That's what law of attraction teaches. So that awareness that is here, that is expressing itself, that is watching the thoughts that are going through, up until now, you've just been riding around, getting driven around by faith and belief in somebody else over there doing it for you. Stop that. You are aware that thoughts are going through your mind. And as long as when you take charge of that thinking process and meticulously control everything that you do, and in the beginning, it's going to be ups and downs. You'll get better at it. You'll drop the ball here. You'll get better at it again 2 more times. You'll drop the ball 4, 5 more times. Then you get better at it 4 more times, and you'll drop the ball 3 times. Then pretty soon you get better at it 5 times and drop the ball 2 times. And you probably get better at it 6 times and drop the ball once. For every 6 times you get it right, you'll drop the ball once. Every 6, 7 times you get it right, you'll drop the ball twice, 3 times. But you'll get it 8 times right and 2 times, 3 times wrong. Sometimes you get 9 times right and 1 times wrong. And it's going to vary. It depends on who you are. But that's how it works. And the more you stick with it, and sometimes you throw your hands up and say, oh shit, I'm done. Phew. Let me go watch, a movie, or listen to some music, read a book that's going to inform me and empower me with some more knowledge on a whole nother area. Then I'll put this book down over here and I'll go pick up Eckhart Tolle and I'll read some of his stuff and say, oh wow, look, Eckhart just turned me on to another little aspect of my power and our ability to control, and Eckhart gonna teach me how to cut that stuff off and just learn to ignore them damn thoughts. Don't identify with this flesh. Understand that you control this flesh, but don't think you are this flesh, that you are that thought. No, you are never a thought. Even the ones you conjure up, they're not you, and they never will be. Thoughts have never been meant to be you. I don't know if anybody ever told you that. I had never heard nobody say that before. But it's clear. You are not your thoughts. You are not even the mind space that you're watching. How can you be? How can you be something that you're seeing or that you're creating? You're imagining. Your imagination is a thought. If you're imagining it, how can you be the thought you're imagining? You can't. You have to be that which is imagining the thought. You have to be that which is watching the thought, that's seeing the colors. That's the viewer, that's the watcher looking down at the cat, looking at the color of the wall, looking over here, looking at the car. The car is over there. You're seeing the car in your imagination. So you can't be the thought if you're sitting there looking at it. You're the watcher. You're the awareness. That's what you are. And you will always be that on one level or another. So if you're in your bed and you're having a nightmare and stuff and emotions are jumbling up, notice what you're saying. And I shouldn't say you're having a nightmare, you're experiencing a nightmare. And what I love about what Eckhart Tolle says there is he said, no, you're not a thought. You're not having a thought. You're not creating these thoughts. Thoughts are happening to you. Where are the thoughts coming from? This flesh vehicle, the automatic intelligence that's been in charge for the last 64 years, well, not in charge in my case, but since I was 22, I've been battling and exercising and building the thought muscles and the control mechanisms to control the thoughts that are going through my head to the point that it maddens me, drives my mother insane. How detailed and microscopic and detailed about managing and everything that I do. I do it because that's coming from within. That's how I am within. Am I in total control all the time? Oh, absolutely not. After 45 years. But see, that's my being. That's my flesh vehicle. Don't go by that. See, 45 years and I'm not in total control of this. I can tell you that right now. But you know what? I'm more in control now than I've ever been in my entire life, in this lifetime here. And this, between this interface, this flesh vehicle and this microcosmic spirit coming through here. I ain't never been more in control in my life than I am right now. Because I never stopped and I never will. That's your secret weapon. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Because you know what? You can't give up. There's no such thing as giving up. You can take a break, but there's no giving up. This ain't about no giving up at all. This is about winning. And as Professor Kaba said, it ain't over until the vehicle dies. And even after we win, we go to win again and keep winning. Maximum control, cradle to grave. That's your secret to success. Never, ever give up. Period. Full stop. Both barrels, no chaser. Unequivocal, uncompromising. Now, I want to wrap up. I know I'm going over. We heavy. Yeah, we're going heavy. I'm going to do about 5-10 more minutes. We're going to go hour and a half on this one. A little bit more. Because I got to get this in. Can't break this. This flesh vehicle, now, I know I said never give up, hard, but you can't do that. Not with the flesh vehicle. It will rebel. And you're going to win, but it's still going to rebel. So why go into all this rebelling? There's some things that my flesh vehicle likes. I've been trying to stop biting my nails my whole life. I still bite nails. I don't know why. But that's something my vehicle does. And it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, nail biting. Wash your hands. Especially when I drink coffee. I get wound up, which I had coffee today. I'm sure you can tell. Okay? But I'm saying all that to say I want you to know that one of the things I've said in the past is that what makes the form and the flesh vehicle perfect is that it is imperfect. Because I say it's perfect because that is exactly what it was designed to be. Imperfect and finite. See? Because a perfect, infinite spirit is trying to express itself in a finite, through a finite and imperfect form. And that's, God set all this up. So, and you will read that in, let me see, who says that in his book? Eckhart Tolle says it in his book, that, and others, great thinkers, Charles Hennell says it in his book, what's his name? Neville Goddard says it in his book. A bunch of great thinkers, because the truth, there's only one truth. Perfection and infiniteness needs to be, not need, but wants to, it is going to be attracted to imperfection and finiteness. So there's the balance between perfection, infinite perfection, and finite imperfection. The two will be automatically attracted to each other. And what you have to do in your living is always strike that balance. There are some things that the finite, imperfect entity requires, wants, needs to feel a sense of satisfaction and value. And you have to give it that. Well, let me say this to you. Let me say it differently. I give mine what it wants to a certain extent. I give it what it wants to a certain extent. And when I say no, it's over. It's not a discussion. It's over. Ain't gonna happen. Now, I got my pet in such control that after 60 some odd years, if I say it ain't gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen. It just don't happen. And my pet said, okay, I'll come back and ask you again tomorrow. And it depends on how I feel. If I feel you've been disciplined enough, you've been doing what I want you to do, then I give you some of that. Whatever it is you want, whatever, okay. Because there's things that come with my form that I don't care what you say, you ain't gonna be able to change that. You know, you just can't gonna be able to do nothing about that. I'm not gonna get into detail about that. You figure it out. You know, but when it comes to drug addiction and things like that, I don't give no quarter on that. I don't give no quarter on no extremes. You know how you do in an extreme? Because your health starts failing. Your relationships with your people and family starts failing. That's how you know something wrong. Okay? And one thing that I will never allow is this vehicle to run nothing completely. Because why? I'm going back to my same justification for that kind of thinking. Because when anything goes wrong, I pay. The vehicle comes and it goes. I'll get another vehicle in the next lifetime. But the microcosmic spirit pays. Because the flesh, the automatic intelligence, don't think, has no mind, and the intelligence that it does have is strictly designed for the management and maintenance and maintenance of the automatic systems in this physical form here. And there is a jousting back and forth for control on what you will and will not do. And it has a mind, the mind that's here, control of that mind and thoughts flowing through that mind all the time is being managed by this flesh form here. See, when Eckhart Tolle talks about you have to get to the point where you stop thinking, it's not that thinking stops. See, when he says you stop thinking, he's not talking about this body right here. He's talking about the watcher. And the watcher doesn't stop thinking because the watcher never started thinking. The watcher decides to create thoughts through this form. This is the structure. This is the way it's set up. You don't have to believe me, but take any meditation class. And when you get to the higher levels, you're going to be right where I'm telling you right now. The spiritual being is so perfect and so infinite, it has to push itself into a microcosmic expression, nanite, and express itself through this form right here. But the thinking process that goes on is a part of the flesh form. The mind space that the thoughts flow through is a part of the flesh form. So if your flesh form is not healthy on at least two levels, physically means your diet and the way you're eating, and mentally, then you will have problems controlling and balancing what goes on. But no matter what problems the mentally and physically that you allow this body to develop into, now mentally you may not necessarily be able to control totally, because that could have that can be impacted and create a reactional mind thoughts that Dianetics is going to teach you about over here. You know, you got to understand how that works. That comes from your development as a physical form being and the trauma and stuff that has been inflicted on you while you were not conscious. You know, when the conscious micro being was off somewhere and the vehicle was resting, or whatever's happening, that stuff is coming in through the ears and whatnot, and the subconscious machine is picking that up and is going to trigger a reaction later on if it wasn't harmonious and positive. You see, the subconscious is going to play that back. And there's an element within the flesh vehicle that's going to play that back if it was traumatic and negative. Okay? That's just how it works. Read Dianetics. They'll tell you, see, I'm not making this stuff up. All of this understanding that I'm expressing to you, I got it from reading. And I mean, years ago I read that. But if you don't have to read the whole book. I'm not telling you to go join no doggone Scientology society and all that foolishness. Ain't got nothing, because you know I don't do religions and all that stuff. But there's some kernels of psychological, psychophysical, psychology that has a physical reaction to this flesh vehicle right here, and that will impact your ability to control thought flow and how this vehicle reacts. You have people that are mentally ill. It's because the physical form has been traumatized in some way, and the chemical, and that's why normally people who are mentally ill, there's a chemical imbalance. If it's chemically driven, then you got to have a drug to balance off that, get you right. You may be too right side, and no detail, and then you need a drug that can bring you back and calm down the flow of thought flow and allow the micro spirit to be able to express itself through. Sometimes the vehicle can be so mentally off, because we still making sausage here, folks. You being born into vehicles and all kinds of crazy stuff is going on because we're still making sausage. We're still evolving. This interface between the spiritual and the physical, scientific side, it's still getting right. It's still evolving. We just getting started here. We finally reached the level where we can actually get something done. You can tell by look at what we manifest. Look what we created out here. It's still brute. We're still destroying the air. It's not right. We're not perfect. We got some work to do. But we're getting there. And we're on a beautiful level. We're getting ready to have all electric cars. Cars are going to be driving itself. All we got to do is go with the flow. Find our place. Don't worry about no money. Money don't matter. What matters is people. What matters is education. What matters is that you have structure and order and control and discipline. That's what matters. You got to get that filthy thing out of the presidency right now and get a normal, balanced, mentally balanced human being in there so we can go the next level. See, the reason that filthy thing is in there, so we can see what not to do. Stupidity, ignorant, and dumb brute, that's old school. That's why he tricked his way in. The Russians put him in there. And that's why he ain't going to make it past the first term. Because the world is ready to go to another level. Now look, the United States done just been put like in 9th place in the world amongst the great countries. Just because you got a lot of money don't mean nothing. Don't mean damn thing. You ain't doing nothing for nobody. America ain't doing nothing for nobody. They can barely do for their own people. Can't even get that right. Can't do Puerto Rico. Can't do nothing. So you see, we we jacked up, folks. But we getting there. We doing better. But you can tell by the education system, you know, all this stuff I'm teaching you, you should learn this stuff in school. You should learn this stuff in elementary school. Between the first and the fifth grade, you should have learned the basics. That you are a microcosmic being having a human experience, and that your micro being is unlimited and infinite. And your physical form is finite, okay? And and imperfect. You should know that. This basic understanding of what you are and what you were born into. That's basic. So it's elementary. It's stuff you should have learned in elementary school. See, so we jacked up, but yet, at least now, here I am saying it. If I'm saying it, that means it's time. We have just gone to this next level, because I understand it as clear as this color is red. I see this red as clear as I see that. That's how clear I understand how this works. Why is it happening now? It's time for it to be happening now. Okay, family? We'll pick it up on the next movie. All right? But I want to hope that I have been informative for you and insightful. And I want you to understand that everything I'm doing it out of love. Okay? And I want you to be better. That's what you were brought here to do. And I want you to have success, happiness, joy, and prosperity, financial prosperity, and excellent health. Okay, family? One love. And I'll see you in the next movie. To know truth is to live truth. To know truth is to live truth. To know truth is to live truth. And I'll see you in the next movie.